Is Amy Stone, and this is what I call Creator Roundtable. I gather
own podcasts and things. I experience burnout regularly if I don't take care of myself.
And Candace, how about you? Do you think you've experienced burnout? All right. So Arlene, see, because I have said in my life,
I'm just tired. So because they're not like thinking in the totality, burned out means I have, no spoons left for everybody who understands the spoon theory, right? Like I don't have.
but I don't know that anybody, I don't know that what I would do if somebody actually gave me that advice, or if I.
Person doesn't always be the other. It's very individual. What's going to help you?
Yeah. And especially like,
They were a little bit older, but like not
Yeah.
that much, like maybe 4 years. And I think my generation.
my show, I'm doing it with the caveat of I do occasionally hire, consultants to do certain projects. Candace, how about you? Are you a solopreneur or do you have a big team backing you up?
I am a solo.
The biggest support I have is probably my husband, who I we'll call him my business partner often. I bounce ideas off him. He does research for me. He, he's the one who takes care of getting the kids to school and all the places and doing all the things, because I do I have 1,900 things going on. So he does all of that for me, for us, I guess I should say, as that support. And I have good friends too that I reach out to who often show up on the podcast as well. So I do have good support in those ways, but as like editing and producing and all those things, that's all me.
All right.
Can I piggyback on that?
Yeah, of course.
So my husband and I co-host Sci-Fi Book Pod together, and we were discussing how, what we were going to do going forward. And he was giving me all these ideas. And I finally looked at him and I said, you may be the co-host, but I'm the executive producer, and I'm going to have to implement all these decisions that we just discussed. So in the end, it'll be my decision what we do. So I've started to think of myself more of the executive producer than the host.
Yeah, the executive producer, the showrunner. So the next part of that, the next question that I have for everybody is specific to the shows that we create and we produce. Thinking back to the beginning when you started, was it a surprise to you the sheer volume and amount of work that it has taken to create your show, continue to produce it, and release it out to the world? Candace, you're a long timer. Does the amount of work that goes into making your shows surprise you?
Not anymore. And I think that I spend more time than most on my shows because I'm super hyper focused on audio quality. It's so important to me. So I do spend a lot of time editing for audio clarity, whereas some people say, I'm just going to hit the AI button and let AI edit it for me. I don't. So, I spend probably 8, maybe 10 hours per episode doing the work.
Wow.
To make it sound good.
All right. That's a lot. Does that include recording time?
Yes, that includes everything.
Okay. All right. Arlene, how about you? Were you surprised how much work it took to make and release your show?
In the beginning, yeah. I was like, oh, this is a lot. But, you adjust, and then I'm like, okay, and I factor in. I do probably way less editing. I know there's no probable. I do way less editing than Candace does. But ours is just like the general conversation flow. So I don't like edit out pieces. So like if we're making mistakes in the episode, that you get that raw, which helps with cutting down on editing in general. So that has helped. Because I played around with that in the beginning and realized it's much more authentic if we're just continuing the conversation regardless, because that's what we're doing in the podcast itself. But yeah, it was a lot in the beginning of just like getting the knowledge, like learning where to go, trying to figure out what was going to be best, what to hope, like just all of the things that come with it. It is a lot.
How about you, Lauren? What do you think?
Yeah, so when I first started my show back in 2024, it was just for shits and gigs on the side of my 9 to 5, and I was not producing at a regular cadence. So it was like kind of whenever I had the time, maybe on average 1 episode a month. So it wasn't like as much work. But then when I decided to go all in, quit my 9 to 5, and like make the podcast a core pillar of this business that I'm trying to build, and decided on a bi-weekly cadence. So now I release once every other week, and that's been going on for over a year now. Yeah, kind of. I was like, "Whoa, this is a lot," just like the show itself. And I'm also super nitpicky in the editing. I don't do as much editing on audio quality like Candace was saying, but more so to cut down on the interviews because I'm a yapper, my guests are yappers. They can be like super long. And now in season 2, I want to try to target like around 45-minute max for those episodes. And then also like cutting out, word fumbles or like the stupid like filler words or pauses. Like I'm really nitpicky about, just to keep the conversation flowing. Like on the one hand, I do really appreciate authentic conversation, and like I like what Arlene does by like leaving it in and just, going with the flow. But then my perfectionist brain is like, no, I need to get like all of these little like pauses that are longer than I would like when listening to podcasts, because I think I'm going to lose my listeners' attention. And so I've been very nitpicky with that. And then I, at one point, did burn out from all the things that I was doing. And so that's when I decided to hire the podcast editor. I'm still like nitpicky. Like I went through one podcast editor who wasn't editing to my liking, and had a tough conversation with her, decided to end the contract ultimately. Now have hired a second podcast editor. Um, and I realized, and this is working out right now, and I realized the more I add to my plate, especially since the podcast isn't like making me money directly, I need to spend less time reviewing and editing because I'm trying to outsource that. So I'm working on being like less picky and like time boxing myself when it comes to reviewing episodes.
That is super interesting. My show would definitely be better if I did the work that Candace did, and went through and edited for impact to like really trim down the conversation and do the quality edits of the rambling conversations and side tangents. But like with Lauren, it's like finding I'm prioritizing my time, and I look at the credit rolls of the shows that I really respect that have high quality results, other than Gratitude Geek, which has amazing results and high quality. And there's a team that does that. There's a producer and an editor and all of that, and I don't have that, so I just make the deal with the devil. All right, so that is a good place to jump to this next question, to talk about technology. Wait a second, we're missing a person. Where is, ta-da, there we go. There we go. All right. So, how does technology fit in this? Like technology is supposed to be, right, the big helper and make our lives easier and reduce all of the work that we have to do. Do we think that technology is helpful in avoiding overwhelm and burnout and leading us to sustainability? Or where are we with this today in August of 2026? On the rainbow of how much we think technology is helping us. And in technology, to put this into a whole thing, you can really, I'd leave it open. This can be your fax machine that you have in the closet, or it can be AI. So tell me what you think about technology, kids. I'll start with Arlene. How are you with technology? Do you think it's helpful in staving off burnout and making you sustainable, or would you rather go live in a yurt in the mountains?
No, I need the internet. So no yurt for me. I've said that. It's nice for vacation. I need the internet on a regular basis. I think there's a balance for technology, and finding like what works and not outsourcing everything. I think there's a piece of very much like authenticness to any like thing you're creating, and the more tech you go, the oftentimes you lose that. And I think I'm gonna specifically end up like with you're totally AIing it, everybody knows, right? And that loses people. So there is a balance of like where things can be super helpful because they trim things out and they cut things down, but if you go too far, you might like it takes the people out of what you're doing, even though you might be adding like more time into like what you're doing. So it is definitely a balance of like where tech can help and where it then ends up hurting the product.
I like that answer. I think I'm thinking about how when we started this, like I was getting alert notices like about the live streams, and I like we're 35 minutes into it and I'm like, I don't know where it's ending up. Like it was like my blood pressure was like here, and all of these things. So, all right. So Lauren, how about you? How are you with technology? Do you think it is, as it relates to burnout and how sustainable projects can be?
I think tech is super helpful. I come from a background of working in tech, so I'm just gonna throw that out there, maybe biased. Um, I keep saying I do not know how entrepreneurs made this work, especially solopreneurs. Like y'all, before I would be lost, like really, really lost and down bad. So, I mean, mad props to everyone before AI boom, like before my time. And I just like I like experimenting with different tech products. So like for example, of like how it's helped me in reducing my workload. Like I use Riverside, for example, for my show. And so Riverside, when I first started using it, the AI features were iffy. Like I didn't really like them. They didn't really work out for me. But over time, the past year, they've made a lot of enhancements to the AI features in Riverside. So now, sorry if you can hear a siren. It's like very loud outside my
I
place.
did hear it. I wondered if it was in my town. Like that's because I have like earphones in and earbuds, and I was like, "Are those outside my neighborhood?" Like, who? But yeah, it's okay. No worries. No worries. This is a real life.
Yeah, I live on a main street in DC, but now it's done. But yeah, so Riverside, like, with editing and like with audio enhancement, the audio enhancement, like the Magic AI for the audio, like has gotten a lot better. I used to hate it, and now I actually use it. My editor uses it as well. And then with the Magic clips, like I'm posting on social media, just like automatically having Riverside generate them and then going in, picking my favorite and making tweaks from there. I never just use the raw output from that, but it cuts down on time and like decision making that I'll have to do. And then just like in general in the business, I mean, I love creating and I come from a background of design. So I'm not really using AI for visuals that much. Like I'll use it here and there for certain things, but like the photography and videography that I'm posting on socials and stuff, that's me
Yeah.
primarily. Um, but like other things like admin stuff that drains my energy that may not be my strengths, that may not be like what I have a background in. It's helped me in terms of figuring out legal things with my business. And yes, I do consult with legal help as well. Like it's always important to note that, an AI tool cannot replace someone with a legal background or license or training. But it can get you to a certain point that I could not get myself. And so things like that, or things like redundant tasks that I'll maybe create skills for in Claude. And then train it up on my voice, like with my emails, putting my proposals that I've written in so that it can learn from that and then write in my voice and edit like based on like my writing and speaking style, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. 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 I do. I think that I love that perspective, and I think it's great that you do have a technology background, and I think reflecting on how that impacts how you see it, I think is a helpful reflection. Candace, thoughts on technology? I'm so
Okay,
ready. I'm like ready for this.
I have so many thoughts. You know about my public breakup with the software program that Lauren just talked bravely about. She raved about it, and I broke up with it. So
Candace broke up with it like a 20-year marriage. Candace like threw a I've divorced this software party. Like
I did.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Please spill the tea.
It was, to me, it was bloated with unnecessary AI that was making the system sluggish. It was a pain in the butt to edit. And I went back to the way I did it before. So I'm recording in Zoom and I'm editing with a tool called Wondershare from Mora that I've had for over 10 years. And I know how to use, forward and backwards, right? But it's something really important to mention here. In 1980, I was 10 years old and I was the only girl in my computer programming class.
And was it
The
on
word
a
geek
TI 99 like Radio Shack
with
computer?
cassette tapes.
Yes,
with cassette tapes.
Commodore
all right?
64 loading up on audio tapes. Yes.
Yes. And then the word geek is in my podcast name.
Yeah.
Right? The word geek was in my business name when I first launched my web hosting and design business in 1999, right? So geek is part of who I am and how I identify. But you have to, and I'm going to yes and this, and you have to balance the technology with the human. And so I have a automated system for people to sign up to be a guest on my show that has all these cute little emails that go out. I have I use Perplexity, not Claude, but I have Perplexity and Notebook LM helping me repurpose my episodes. I actually have Perplexity trained to help me with my cuts. This episode needs to be 45 minutes and currently it's 100, it's 65 minutes. What 20 minutes can I take out? So I use tools. But I try to keep it as human as possible. And
Yeah,
sorry,
I think
had
that's
a
good.
Very public breakup with Riverside.
Only for those of us who were like following along. It was like a 20-minute thing. But I mean, your frustration, I talked to you so often that I knew how frustrated you were with the platform. Like technology, I'll share this. I traveled a lot this summer. One of the things I missed so much was having access to a printer as I was traveling. And I could do everything everywhere else, right? But it's like that one step in my process, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much it was. And so I think of myself as very, much an adapter, not early adapter, because I come from the 1980s like Candace, and early adoption meant dealing with alpha level, not ready software at that point. So I let other people go first. And then I jump in. But I like to adapt and use new things. And then I do sometimes, though, when I go to do something and it's like everything needs to be updated or, and I'm like, no, all I want to do today is record and do what I'm doing. And, your software update is in my way. I think about that. So that's I think it's the yes and you do. Okay, so I have a multiple choice question. Let's see if we have all of the people there. We do. Okay, so when thinking about stress and pressure and burnout and all of those things, which of these categories would you say is what is showing up in your experience in your life? Is it not having enough time? Is it the time it takes to do something? Is it deadlines that you give yourself or that exist? Is it the reality of being out on the hard, cold internet streets and having public feedback showing up in the pressure that is? Is it not knowing how to do some portion of it and needing to learn new stuff all the time? Is it something that's not on my list at all? Or is it all of these things? What do you think? Who wants to go first? Don't everybody jump at once.
I have an easy answer.
Yeah.
It's D. It's not knowing.
Not knowing anything particular that comes up, like not knowing what?
So not knowing whether or not the title that I choose for the episode is going to hit and have good SEO.
Okay.
Not knowing whether or not I picked the right niche, not knowing whether or not a guest is actually going to show up and be a good guest. Sometimes I've had people come on that I thought were going to be fantastic guests and they were terrible. And other times I was like, I really don't want to interview this person. And then the interview turned out to be one of the best interviews I've ever done. Right. So you just don't know. And not that it's stressful. I'm a Capricorn and I like to have a little bit more control.
We went from technology to astrology in 30 seconds. Okay. I can't think of anything better. No, I think that's very fair. The not knowing, not knowing if something is going to work, not understanding. I'll throw a caveat in there for me that I experience, which is like when I feel like I can see other people doing things and I'm not sure how to make it happen for myself. That feels a lot like uncertainty and pressure to me as I build my visibility, as I build the show audience, all of those things. Arlene, how about you? Which of these shows up in your life as pressure?
I want to say E because the thing that I think is overextending myself.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's a good one. Should have been on there.
It's like, okay, there's time in the day. I can do this. I can do that. I have this project going. I have this project going. I've got this happening. I have this. I have to work. I've got this. I have 19 things going on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they're all important.
Yeah. That is a very real pressure. That is a very real pressure. I have a follow-up question that leads into that. So I hope we have time for that. Lauren, how about you? Which of the things on this list show up in your life?
My OG answer was A and D, a mix of not having enough time and not knowing, and also resonate with the pressure of seeing other people having things figured out that I want to do and feeling pressure to have it figured out like ASAP.
Yeah.
And then Arlene brought up a good point, and I was like, actually, yeah, that's always been me, like stretching myself thin in like 20 different directions because I want to do it all, and then I do it all at once, and then I'm like, oh no, I
Yeah.
feel very overwhelmed. I can't do all of this at the same time.
Yeah. So, all right. So the follow-up question to that was started by Arlene, but I'll extend it all to you guys is that, all right. So the original research, when I told you guys I went down a rabbit hole and found like 1970s research about burnout. And the earliest thing I found was from a guy who was doing specifically nurses. And that was from the 70s, and caregiving, and so caregiving, which I use, it can be a professional term. It can be for people who are parents or people who are taking care of anybody else. It can be pets, can be kin, can be partners, spouses, all of those things, right? So do we think that time and like the never ending to-do list, honest opinion, this is not a safe space because it's streaming live on the internet, but do we think that this perception of so many things to do and all of these things to get done, is there an element of this that we're feeling that could be gendered relating to the pressures and the unpaid sort of labor that we see in a gender divide? Does that question make sense to you guys? All right. What do you think? What do you think, Arlene? Because I'm throwing you under the bus because you tabled this up.
That's totally fine. I would say yes, maybe, but not for me.
Okay. All right. There you go. Yes, maybe, but not for me. Okay.
Because my husband does all of the things. So
okay.
For me, I don't do what would be the domestic labor.
Okay.
Like I might carry some of the emotional labor, but he does the heavy lifting.
Okay. Do you think
I
sometimes
think
they do?
it's a real thing though.
Yeah. Do you have the mental task list? Do you carry the mental task list for the things you're doing in your like in your business, in your life? Do you take on
Yes.
that one? Okay. All right.
Yeah, that one's all of me. So I was like, yes, maybe,
Okay.
but like the life piece of it, like he's got all the caregiving and the kids and the running around and driving them everywhere they gotta go and all that nonsense that comes with that. And so like that part of it, that I don't have any of that emotional labor or that physical mental load. But that's a real thing that is that can contribute. But for for everything I do, like with my practice and the podcast and writing and building out trainings and whatever else, that's all in my head or in a Google Doc.
The beloved Google Doc. Lauren, you're at a different life stage than I am. You're so like, what do you think of when I lay out this whole? Because like this in the media, this gets like targeted towards like midlife and parents and stuff like that. When I bring up this like sort of caregiving responsibility, what comes to mind with you?
Well, I think traditionally it's more so fallen on the woman.
Yeah.
So I think there is like a mental and emotional labor that goes under the radar, and like women just kind of like do it without saying anything, or they just, it's like an automatic thing, and we are raised to be a bit more empathetic, I think, than male counterparts. And this is like a broad generalization. Like obviously there are exceptions, and I think, Arlene, it's awesome that your husband
Yeah.
is doing all of this. I think more men should be like this. I think that's amazing, and I think like the load being split equally is ideal. Also, there's the thing of like, okay, are you in a heterosexual relationship or a homosexual relationship? And like right now I'm dating a girl, and so it's been interesting because in the past I've dated men, and I've noticed differences. It's hard to like put it all into words like on the spot, but
No pressure. It's not at all a safe space. Live on the internet.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm always on the internet, so
Yeah.
I get all the feedback, so I could give two shits now, but
Do you know?
um,
Here's a question for someone your age. Do you know, or have you ever seen, and you can just be like, no, Amy, I have no idea. Is there any like research on whether or not this divide of like unpaid emotional domestic labor shifts based on the heteronormity or whatever mix of the relationship? Do we have any idea?
so actually, a long time ago, I read a book called How to Drop the Ball, I think, written by a female author. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. Um, But there was a lot of research presented in that book that people it partnered with someone of the same sex, so homosexual couples, are generally happier than people in heterosexual relationships. And a lot of it had to do with the like mental and emotional load and all of the work and like the traditional like life and domestic household tasks that need to be done, in addition to, oh, by the way, women are also like working and like having genuine careers outside the home now, so like balancing that, whereas men, like it hasn't really, like the domestic part hasn't really like landed on them. They've always like been in careers, and it's like the stigma is different around like men taking a break to spend time with the kids versus women taking a break or a step back from the career to spend time with the kids. So it was interesting, that research that was brought up in that book, because of the differences. And there's also been research around like, okay, men's lives improve. This is a
Oh yeah, no,
generalization.
this one I know. Men's lives get better with marriage and women don't live any longer when they get married. Yeah.
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 Which is telling.
It is. It so is. All right, Candace.
Is the book Drop the Ball by Tiffany Dufu? Is that the book?
I'm not sure. I gotta look it up.
Achieving More by Doing Less. That's the only one that would come up when I Googled it, because
Oh,
I'm a
yeah.
Googler.
Yeah.
So I am the daughter of an immigrant who lived a crappy life as a child during a war, walked over dead bodies in the street, yada, 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 yada. Right? And I saw her take care of my father like he was the most precious thing that ever existed. Right? When they first got married, she would iron his underwear.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even want my underwear ironed, but okay, go on.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then so my age, a woman my age, we were friends. She was a partner in a professional environment, and her husband was a prison guard, and she worked her job, her professional job. She carried the load financially for the family, and she would come home and cook dinner every night. And but in my family, my husband and I we shared things equally. He likes to cook, so he does the cooking. After I got cancer, he picked up some of the things. He picked up the slack for the things I couldn't do, and the dynamics of our relationship have shifted. Also, our daughter is a grown adult now, not a child going off to school, but he does a lot more of the domestic things than I do, because I'm sort of like the brain person. Like, I have I just see that there's a shift. Things are shifting. Like, I hope that there is no woman today ironing her husband's underwear. I really hope that.
I have so many questions about the
that.
ironing of the underwear, like unrelated to anybody doing it. The main question is why? Why would anybody? Why? Okay, so anyway, all right. So we're getting close to the end of the hour. We're going to run a teeny tiny bit over. I gave you guys an assignment in the getting ready for this, which was about the movie Network, which is an old movie. It came out in 1976. I've never seen it live, and so anyway. But there's a very famous scene where the guy goes on TV, loses his stuff, and he has a network moment, a very public thing where he's like, I'm just so angry. Everybody get angry. Have you ever hit a moment in your life where you have had a public outburst that you would say is because of stress, overwhelm, and burnout? Yes or no? Arlene, have you ever publicly exploded?
No, but I will blame my trauma for being able to compartmentalize. I exploded.
All right. I accept that explanation. I just as given, no follow-up. Lauren, have you ever publicly gone through and had like an outburst?
Oh yeah. Not proud of it, but several times. I can think of one that just came up was like my senior year of college. I was booking flights. I was so done with school. I was already booking flights for summer vacation all over Europe, and I booked the wrong flight. I was booking a flight with TAP Air Portugal, and I booked like the basic economy one where you can't change it. But I booked it for like the wrong date or something, and it was on the day of a final, like before I finished school. And I was like, ah, shit. So I remember being outside the business school on Maryland's campus on the phone, and the customer service sucked. Like, I reamed Tap Air Portugal after that. I was like, you're in the business of customer service, and your customer service, like, you got one job. I am very unhappy. Your customer service sucks. And I didn't realize how loud I was talking. And I realized because my old roommate came up to me during that conversation. I was screaming on the phone in public, and she was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "No."
And I love this story because their service, I'm sure, did suck, but you made the mistake. You were like totally, it's like you booked the wrong thing, and you're still like, you need to get your shit together. All right, Candace, how about you?
I have a very specific story. It's healthcare related. I had to have my gallbladder removed. I was in so much pain, and I didn't have health insurance at the time, and I was trying to get some sort of financial assistance to help pay for the gallbladder removal. And I did let it loose, but I was in pain.
No, yeah.
I was in pain.
After my dad died, the bank made a mistake, and I screamed at the person. I was crying, and as I was screaming at her, I was like, "This is not your fault. You are not responsible for this." And I could not stop screaming at her. It was like ridiculous. I was like absolutely having a breakdown, apologizing and screaming all at the same time. That is that. All right, you guys, I'm going to close it up because we're 2 minutes over. All right, we are at an hour. Time does go fast when you have a group of people who talk for a living. I want to thank each of the panelists, Candace, Lauren, and Arlene, for being a guest today, and anybody who found us live and all of those things. Thank you very much. People who watch this in the future me, thanks you too. If you would like to be a panelist on a future roundtable conversation, it's open to people who are a part of my Creator directory, and you can reach out to me and I will give you all of the details. That's a wrap. My name's Amy Stone, signing off. Thank you, thank you, thank you.